Now, former chief executive of GNPC, Alex Mould, has dismissed assertions by the government that the gold for oil deal will lead to a reduction in fuel prices. The government last week took delivery of 40,000 metric tons of the first consignment of the gold for oil deal, with the expectation of reducing the pressure on forex and also presenting the country with a cheaper source of fuel. But speaking to Raymond Akon upfront, Mr. Mould explained there is no way the current program can lead to a reduction in fuel prices, demanding government comes clean on the deal.
Make people understand that there's no cheap fuel in the country. When they say cheaper fuel, I heard somewhere that we were talking about 20% cheaper. 20% pump price cheaper. Now, you and I don't know about you, but I can bet with you my last CD by pocket that it will never happen that we'll see 20% decrease because of the gold for oil deal. The reason is that currently Ghana already sells gold. Okay? So Ghana as a country sells gold. Government may not sell the gold, but Ghana sells gold. Yeah. When Ghana sells gold, it gets dollars. Those dollars come back into the system. Now, there may be leakages. There may be some smuggling. So if this gold for oil transaction that they are doing is going to block the smuggling, then it's good. But it is not going to give you the result of cheap oil. It's just going to give us a little more dollars in the system.
Why is it not going to be cheaper?
It's not going to be cheaper because you're still going to spend the same amount of dollars, and the dollars is going to come from the same area. Unless Bank of Ghana is saying that we will give you dollars at the Bank of Ghana interbank rate instead of the commercial bank rate. Now, why aren't they doing that already? Bank of Ghana auctions money to the BDCs currently. So nothing really is changing. We won't get cheaper fuel. What's going to happen in the oil side is that government is now going to be a player in the oil business. It's going to reduce the amount of oil that imports that the BDCs take, and government is going to decide who is going to be the largest player in the oil business.
So how and when can this gold for oil arrangement lead to a reduction in petroleum prices? We've been joined by Duncan Amwa, who is Executive Secretary for the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. Grateful that you could join us here. Now, how can this arrangement lead to a possible reduction, and when should we expect this to happen? Mr. Amwa,
thank you for having me. Emphasize is that if we are going to see oil reduction, then we will get of not less than 8 for
we're having challenges with Mr. Amwa's line. We would probably reconnect with him so we can have a clearer line to bring you that conversation. But we're talking about the fact that I am a former chief executive of GNPC is questioning the arrangement whereby government of Ghana is using gold to buy oil as something that can lead to a reduction in the price of petroleum prices. He says that it can be possible and wants government to come clear on the details of this particular program that's gold for oil. Duncan Amwa is Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, and we're trying to get him to help us understand how this can be possible. Mr. Amwa, grateful that you've joined us again. How can this arrangement lead to a possible reduction, and when will this be likely?
So my initial checks with BOST indicate that the 41,000 metric that was brought in has probably been sold off. Unfortunately, you are only looking at a situation where any meaningful impact will be achieved only when the gold for oil program is able to exceed 70–80% of market demand. What we brought in could do just about 20% of market demand. And so you would have an overwhelming 80% of the market still controlled and probably imported by the private BDCs. And so whatever figures they get would necessarily subsume whatever savings that the gold for oil consignment could have given any Ghanaian. So you would need to scale up And that again would also come from the sort of agreement that we are entering into as far as this gold for oil program is concerned. But at present, we might not have any meaningful impact with the gold for oil consignment and the kind of prices that may even be a bit lower than what BDCs are putting on the market, simply because if you immerse into the broader basket, what you would find from the BDCs would still be a lot more than what gold for oil consignment has brought in. So the effect would not be felt until, and of course, we scale up to somewhere in the region 70-80%. Then you can safely say that whatever savings that the gold for oil program comes with could impact market. But at present, I'm afraid there's not much we can report on.
Okay. But from what you know, is it likely we can get to the 80% threshold with this arrangement?
Well, that would depend on what sort of arrangement or agreement we do have with the intermediary paying for the oil from the OTCs. What sort of arrangement we've even made with the OTCs for what number of cargoes to be shipped in each week, each month. If we are able to scale up like I indicated, then we may be looking at a situation where the gold for oil consignment or cargoes could necessarily dominate the market. But if you do just 20% of the market, the remaining 80 would necessarily also have to come from elsewhere. And those prices, give or take plus or minus, would dominate what the pumps would eventually throw at all of us. We need to scale up, but the agreement would need to be put out there so we know when to expect what cargo, how much in terms of metric tons we are getting through the gold for oil arrangement each week, each month. Then we can do the projections to say that if Y, then X. But at present, the volumes are quite meager to cause any change in pump prices like you've witnessed this week.
Okay, so you've not been informed as to whether we have more players coming on board to give us the fuel through that arrangement so as to reach that goal of getting fuel price on the market reduced. You don't have the info?
Those figures, unfortunately, can only be indicated from whatever agreement that the gold for oil program would have gone into. You can only get speculations. In fact, if you talk to some within BOST, you get the understanding that there are other parcels of oil coming in. When they will come in, you cannot say how soon they come in, at what cost we would land those products. You cannot say, except to say that from what I gather with BOST, the parcel that we just disposed or sold to the market came in at almost 1 Ghana cedi cheaper to what the actual market numbers are. But like I indicated, if the volumes are not enough to stimulate the market, you would have the over 80% of other import numbers dominate, and that perhaps could explain why you wouldn't see any reductions currently or immediately. We need the agreement. We need to understand how many cargoes or parcels we are getting each week, each month. That would inform exactly what the market response is also likely to be. But at present, we've not been able to achieve much in terms of reducing fuel prices.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful that you could join us here now.